The Traditional Values Coalition is a staunch opponent of equality in America. They claim to represent about 43,000 churches, and according to the IRS, they brought in just under $8 million in cash donations in 2007. Right now, they're freaked out about a bill that would add sexual orientation to the federal hate crime statute. I want to pick them apart as a prime example of how our extremist opponents will lie or distort any simple fact, will betray their own integrity to serve their political ends. Here's a page from their website. FBI statistics on hate crimes against a person's sexual orientation from 2007 reveal the following. In 2007, there were 1,521 victims of sexual orientation bias. However, the breakdown of these crimes is listed as, and they've got intimidation and simple assault, and then these 242 crimes of aggravated assault. In short, there were only 242 crimes against a person's sexual orientation that could be considered violent. Apparently, they don't count simple assault as violence. First off, their breakdown doesn't add up to 1,521. They're not counting property crimes, things like arson and vandalism and robbery. Apparently they don't think that having your house burned down or having a brick thrown through your window counts as violence. But I'll let them have that. TVC wants us to think that the FBI classifies mere shouting and name-calling as intimidation. Wrong. To the FBI, intimidation requires unlawfully placing another person in reasonable fear of bodily harm through the use of threatening words and/or conduct. Threatening words or conduct. Reasonable fear. But TVC doesn't want to count that as violence either, and I'll give them that, because the really good stuff is next. TVC is lying about the FBI's definitions of assault. Aggravated assault doesn't just involve bodily harm. It means trying to inflict severe or aggravated bodily injury, an attack with a weapon or by means likely to produce death or great bodily harm. And simple assault isn't just without injury, it's without serious injury. The FBI gives examples of simple assault: a fist fight resulting in bruises and minor cuts, a son giving his father a black eye, a man slapping his wife and being arrested for domestic violence. These are the FBI's own examples of simple assault, which TVC doesn't consider violence. We could stop right there. You want to discredit them? Just say, TVC doesn't think that a man slapping his wife counts as violence. TVC is for some reason leaving out one FBI category in what it's calling violence. Murder. TVC didn't count the 5 hate crime murders of gays and lesbians as violence. And it's right here. And we're using the same sources. So this whole sentence, it's a lie. Moving on. 27 of these bias crimes were directed against heterosexuals. Only one of these 242 crimes was against a heterosexual. Here's where they're getting the 27 number. But the correct number is here. Altogether, there were 9,535 victims of bias crime in 2007. A more direct comparison would be to say, altogether there were 1,116 victims of aggravated assault bias crimes in 2007. But that might make people realize that gays and lesbians made up almost a quarter of that figure, instead of having it look like we were just about 2.5%. The FBI statistics do not indicate how many of these violent hate crimes were committed by homosexuals against other homosexuals, or what provoked the violence. That's true, but... The FBI only counts it as a hate crime if it was motivated by the offender's bias against the victim. So gay-on-gay hate crime is probably pretty low, unless TVC is trying to make us think that the FBI counts every crime against a gay and lesbian person as a hate crime. Out of a total number of 855,856 cases of aggravated assault in 2007, only 242 were directed at LGBT individuals. Oh, they're really doing it. They're saying that every case of aggravated assault against an LGBT person is counted in that 242 figure. Are they really? So in a nation of 300 million people, there were only 242 violent crimes against homosexuals, bisexuals, or drag queens in 2007. Oh, they did it again. Let's take this text and color every outright, indisputable untruth red. Now let's color purple every statement that's merely misleading or based on an untruth. And let's make the true stuff blue. How much honesty do you see on that page? Strangely enough, further down the page, they actually quote the correct definitions. But they don't use them to go back and correct their conclusions. In fact, even further down the page, they repeat their false conclusions, so TVC may be dishonest, or dumb, or both. But doing this research has been both disheartening and inspirational. Disheartening because they say these wrong things about us. Inspirational because you realize they can't mount an honest argument. In opposing us, they violate the very principles they claim to hold dear. They stomp on the ideals that allegedly motivate them. They betray the code and commandments that guide their lives. So don't ever let our opponents call themselves the good guys just because they claim to carry the banner of religion or tradition. The more they fight us, the more hypocritical they become. And as for us, we're not just on the right side of history, we're on the right side of good.